In this video, I'll show you how to install your new dust collection chute on your Bosch sliding miter saw. Now all the steps in this video apply to both the 10-inch and 12-inch versions for this saw. I just happen to have the 12-inch here in my workshop. Now as far as required tools, all you really need is a Phillips screwdriver. There's one area where having one of these grabby things comes in pretty handy, but you don't necessarily need it. And it goes without saying, the first thing you should do is unplug the saw before doing anything. To install your new Bosch dust collection chute, the first thing you want to do obviously is remove the old dust collection fitting on the saw. And that's accomplished by removing a total of 4 screws, 2 near the top, and then 2 more on the lower arm assembly. Then go ahead and slide it out of the way. Next up, you want to remove the rear metal blade guard and the wire guard located here, which are secured in place with a total of 4 Phillips screws, 2 on each side of the blade housing. But to get access to the Phillips screws on this side, you'll just need to remove this arm from the blade guard, which is secured in place with this Phillips screw. With that screw removed, the arm should fall out of the way and you should be able to gain access to those screws. This one back here is a little tricky to get to. You've just got to thread the screwdriver in there, but you can get to it. One thing I found helps getting it out of here is one of these little gripper things, just to grab a hold of it. There we go. And you'll definitely want to keep track of these parts, especially the hardware, because we are going to be reusing those. Next up, you want to install the chute hub adapter into the location that you just took that rear blade guard assembly from. And it's mounted using the original screws that you removed, and those screws actually thread directly into the plastic itself. You'll feel the threads initially bite into it and then just continue threading it in. Be sure to tighten until they're really snug, but keep in mind you are threading into plastic, so just don't overdo it. And don't worry about installing the original metal shield in this location. With the mount in place, you can reinstall the blade guard arm. Your new dust collection system is going to arrive in several parts, which is composed of the main dust chute body, a flexible flap, a hardware bag, and depending on what options you bought, potentially a hose adapter. Now, if any of the printed components or even the hardware look a little bit different than what's in this video, that's okay. The general instruction will be the same. But step 1 is going to take your flexible flap and the chute body and carefully insert the flap into the slot on the front of the chute. Now here's a tip, just barely insert the flap into the slot and get it positioned correctly. Make sure that the curvature of the flap matches the chute itself before you start pushing it in farther. Once you're happy with the position, push the flap in, starting at one end and working your way around. It may take several passes to push it in evenly. You know you've pushed the flap in far enough when either the flap doesn't go any farther or you can see black through the holes around the perimeter. Now you need the small Phillips screws that came in the hardware bag. Begin to screw these into the holes from the outside, starting at one end, working your way around. These are going to thread into the plastic and through the flap, holding it securely in place. You will see the screws protrude into the flap slightly. Now with your flap securely mounted, let's go ahead and get this mounted onto the saw itself. For this step, you're going to need the 2 thumb screws that also came in the hardware bag. Simply rotate the blade guard out of the way and carefully slide the chute into the mount. You can release the blade guard and it'll actually hold it in place for the next step, which is simply just to thread in the 2 thumb screws, 1 on each side. And that is basically it. You're done. Now if you order a hose attachment, that slides onto the end here, held in place with just a friction fit. I just want to say thank you for the support, happy building, and I sincerely hope this contributes to a cleaner workshop.